So today, of course, we have to take a look at Sentinels versus 100-100T Thieves, as it was a crazy series, super close series between the two teams, but Sentinels managed to prevail, and let's talk about how they managed to do it. And really, a lot of it, I think, is going to focus on, we're going to take a look at the third map, Ascent, this Viper pick from 100 Thieves. It didn't make and break the game, you know, there's of course plenty of other things going on, but I did think it had an effect on both sides for 100 Thieves. And normally we associate Viper with being a strong defensive agent, but actually on Ascent, and particularly in this comp, right, where we have no Sentinel, really the Viper is giving you quite a lot on attack, but not so much on the defensive side, and let me explain. So the common setup that most of the teams that we've seen run Viper on this map is with this Viper wall in B main, and then what's going to happen is Stellar's going to come and throw the orb here and mid. And the idea behind this setup is, well, it's really good against an op. Against an op, this is a nightmare scenario because, and you'll see it in this round as well, Tenz here has an op on the third round. He's gone for a bit of a surprise bonus op. He avoids this KO knife here. KO knife comes back in the other way, but you'll see in just a second what's going to happen. Tenz is going to get set up on this angle, but he's just staring at a Viper wall, right? And this is kind of the problem when you're trying to op against this Viper on Ascent, is that the best places to op are often, you know, in mid here somewhere, or in B main like Tenz is now, or maybe on the other side of mid. But what 100 Thieves are doing is they got the Viper orb here, they are often smoking off this short here, and they got the Viper wall here. And so wherever Tenz went, essentially, he was just not able to op, right? And the thing is about these two Viper bits of utility is Tenz doesn't know when they're going to go down, right? They could go down at any point, and there could be any amount of people behind them as well when they go down. So it just makes it really, really difficult to op. And 100 Thieves found a lot of success, you know, in part because of this, because Tenz was just completely, you know, a non-factor in a lot of these rounds with an op. As we see there, the wall drops, Stella is able to kill him, and now 100 Thieves are in a really good position, right? They're in a 5v4, they've killed the main threat, in they come. Bank's going to find this next kill in just a second there on Pancada, who's now alone. Okay, Def manages to trade it. They're about to get a spam kill here with the Odin from Derek as well on second. We're in a 4v2, and they're going to win the round. And this was a large part of 100 Thieves having a really nice attack side, because the Viper was, you know, really mitigating Tenz early on with the op. You know, he was just constantly running into smokes, and so he couldn't really find, you know, great value from his op, and therefore we ended up in situations like this where we have a 4v2. 100 Thieves had some really nice site execs as well, and, you know, they made it work for themselves. As eventually what's going to happen here is Sassy's going to save after they get this kill. Sassy at the very last second is just going to come out, retrieve the op, and then we'll go from there. Now let's come to round 7, because after the frustration of Tenz not being able to find much success with the op, what then happened was Tenz decided to come to A main. Now, A main is not a common op position, you know, to come and look down this way, just because a couple of reasons. One, not most of the time when you're not playing against Viper, it's just much more successful to go elsewhere. But also, you know, you've got this high-low angle potentially to deal with, which might be a bit tricky. So, yeah, you don't often see an op towards A main. Also, normally you get the one-way that most teams feel like we can defend it with the one-way. But after their timeout, Sentinel decided, okay, Tenz isn't finding any value with this op, so let's send him to A main with the op. We'll still do the one-way, so it looks like everything is normal. We've still sent in the KO knife as well, but he's able to get this first kill there on Derek, and that was actually the first time in round 7 that he was able to get the first kill with the op. But the rest of this round is still going to be very, very interesting, right? Because 100 Thieves are eventually going to come for this A split play, and we're going to see some of like the tiny micro adjustments in like Pro Valorant that I think is really, really cool when you spot them. They're just going to wait for this smoke that they actually put down themselves to go down, but you can see that they're set up to come for this kind of A split exec, and Sentinels are actually going to play a bit passive. We're in a 5v4, and they have a Killjoy lockdown as well. So you see in goes the smoke there, in we flash, a KO knife comes out, it gets destroyed, in goes the dash, and you know, we're basically coming in onto the site, and Sentinels just retreat, right? So in come 100 Thieves, come onto the site, they take the site, and they're going to plant the spike as well. Now, Sentinels are happy enough to let this happen because, of course, they have the Killjoy lockdown, so they're playing for a bit of retake here. But take a look at this, right? Because 100 Thieves know that Sentinels have the lockdown. So what are they expecting? Well, of course, they're expecting Pancada to run down here and place the lockdown just in this corner, right? Which is the normal place for it to come. So what have they done? They've got a triple stack right here, and honestly, even Stellar is in position to potentially help fight as well. to destroy that lockdown, right? So they're just preparing to get ready to destroy that. The thing is, we've got to the point in Valorant now where Sentinels know that 100 Thieves know that they have a lockdown, so they know that 100 Thieves are probably going to fight against that normal lockdown. So what do they do instead? They ping this to come and plant the lockdown here. Yes, it's not as good of a lockdown, but it's not going to get destroyed. And that's what's important here, right? And so you see, what happens is the lockdown goes in there, and now 100 Thieves are just in a bad spot, right? Because they have to leave. Right, they have to cross this at some point, or cross this way. So now they're just in a terrible spot now that this lockdown has come down instead. And you'll see that's exactly what happens to Asuna here, where, you know, this is a really nice updraft play with the flash as well from Sentinels. Really good stuff. Tenz gets that kill as Asuna's trying to leave. Now, we do get some fights back and forth. You see it gets a bit crazy, but they have to get pushed out eventually to short there. And now, you know, we get it smoked off as well. And it's just not a good spot here for 100 Thieves, as, you know, Bang just has to push into the smoke. Pancada mops him up, and Sentinels manage to win the round. And I think it's really cool that you can see some of those little tiny micro adjustments. Now let's swap sides and come back to 100 Thieves now on the defense and Sentinels on the attack side. But before we do, I'm first just going to show you a clip of a different game, Na'Vi versus Koi, where Na'Vi themselves also are going for this kind of no Sentinel Viper comp. And you're going to see some of the weaknesses that it can have. And I think both Na'Vi and 100 Thieves are somewhat similar teams in sometimes the way they play their defense side. But take a look at this, right? So we've got CNED with an op here for Na'Vi, right? He's opping down here, and they don't have this Sentinel. And Na'Vi have gone with this kind of interesting little triple stack just here on this B site, right? So kind of an aggressive little play. And Na'Vi and 100 Thieves are both teams that like to do these kind of aggressive push-outs. If you watched the whole game yesterday, you would have seen 100 Thieves push on pretty much all three maps. They were very aggressive on their defensive side, you know, pushing different parts of the map and whatnot. And Na'Vi are a similar team, right, where they go for these kind of more risky kind of plays and stuff like that. The problem is, when you don't play that Sentinel, these plays can lead to problems where you just don't have that information, right? You've gone for this risky stack, and so there's question marks on other parts of the map, right? Where normally there would be that Sentinel utility. So take a look at the map here as what's happened, because here you're going to see that, well, CNED is going to see these players just in a second, right? He sees that jet smoke just there. He comes back across. But now just take a look in a second, because they don't have this information over here. CNED is going to get a bit worried just for a very brief moment. Someone could have pushed spawn, right? Take a look at him now. He's now looking towards spawn just for a very brief moment. And even though I'm not quite sure if actually this Omen can actually see there, either way, there could be, you know, a potential Omen TP across there, which maybe they can't quite hear or whatnot. So CNED gets a bit worried about it, right? So what happens? He gets a bit worried, and he's like, I'm sure it won't actually be the case. But by the time that's happened, actually Koi are already out in the choke point, and they get that kill, and it opens up the round. And that's some of the paranoia that can creep in when we don't have that Sentinel. And so let's come to round 18 then of Sentinels versus 100 Thieves. This is actually a round that 100 Thieves win, but you will see part of what I'm talking about here as well, right? Where I think 100 Thieves get quite lucky that they win this round. You'll see in just a second, because what's going to happen is, again, 100 Thieves, they want to be proactive on this defensive side. Take a look at these three players, right? Getting ready to kind of push and, you know, be aggressive and fight this as a team with just one player on B and one player on A. But again, because they're doing this, you know, and they don't have that Sentinel, it means we have to be very passive, you know, where we aren't pushing essentially. And eventually they get kind of spotted by the turret, and the turret, you know, goes off and it gets broken, and, you know, Pancada sees them, and so they have to run away, right? But now let's take a look. So once that first bit of aggression is kind of spotted, because they don't have that Sentinel, you know, these guys go back, they now have no map control, right? Like, they're literally nothing, right? Are these guys in A main? We don't know. Are they in B main? I don't know, right? We've pushed mid, so we can be sure for now that they aren't there, but Sentinels do really well here, and this is kind of how they played kind of the second half of their attack, where it was very slow, right? It's very slow, and it causes questions for 100 Thieves, and 100 Thieves have no idea where they are. Now, this round, you might say, is a bit too slow. It looks like they want to do a B hit. For whatever reason, they decide to, you know, come back and do an A hit. I actually have no idea what made them come back and do an A hit. But what's going to happen here in just a second, as you see, Asuna again, kind of doing what CNED just did, right? Where he's having to check spawn because they have no idea where these guys are, right? Just absolutely no idea. Look how deep they are on B site. There's 26 seconds left, so Asuna just pops his ult. As far as I know, and maybe they did have some kind of clue, but I can't really figure out what it would be. Asuna is just blindly popping this ult. these guys could be in B main about to do a B exec, and he's just wasted a KO ult. Right, this is what I mean about 100 Thieves maybe getting a bit lucky, that essentially I think he just guessed and hoped that, hey, there isn't much time left. If they're coming to A, they're in trouble now. If they were going to B, actually it would have been Sentinels in a lot of trouble. And Asner actually goes back and checks spawn again, which actually means that they get out of range of the KO ult for one pop. So they do actually manage to get their util still using, but now as they're coming in, everyone's getting suppressed essentially. And, well, that, you know, the time is so low that 100 Thieves are able to hold it down, and they did have 3 people already here. But you see some of the problems that can come about in this round. Had, you know, Sentinels gone to B like it looked like they initially wanted to, 100 Thieves might have been in a lot of trouble. Now let's come to round 24, which is another really good example of Sentinels kind of figuring out 100 Thieves, I think, on this attack side by the end of the game. What's going to happen here is they're going to come and drone out mid, which happened a lot. This is, I think 100 Thieves, I would have liked to see Cryo in a few different positions, because he was often starting towards mid, and 100 Thieves just kept droning and pushing him away. And again, we're going to end up with kind of the same problem here for 100 Thieves, right? Where if we pause the map now, right, we're at 115, you know, they don't have any information again, right? Are they in A main? Don't know, right? Are they coming up mid? Don't know. I mean, we've even got a player, you know, who again is checking towards spawn because we don't have that Sentinel, right? Are they in B main? Don't know, right? There's a lot of question marks here for 100 Thieves. So Sentinels figure out, hey, we can run a fake and this will be really good. Now, I think Sentinels maybe don't quite realize, you know, that 100 Thieves don't quite buy the fake as much as maybe they think. And I think one of the reasons is Tenz gets spotted by this drone. Right, so he sees Tenz towards, so we've seen Tenz towards B, right, and he is the jet, right, so that's a bit of a clue. And then the second clue for 100 Thieves that this is a bit fishy is about to come in a second, where Def is now trying to sell this fake. He's going to throw in his KO knife, but actually Asna throws in his KO knife as well, and that only suppresses Def. Again, a bit suspicious, right? We've seen the jet over towards B, and obviously Sentinels are trying to run this fake towards A. They're trying to make this look like this is an A hit. But it's only the KO who's getting suppressed by this knife. And this knife goes, you know, fairly deep. You'd expect it to catch more people. And so what's happened is, well, Zekina has to wait here to do his dart until, you know, Def again can now pop ult. He has to wait till he's not suppressed. And so what we're going to get is the dart. Def then pops his ult. And then we're going to go Silver ult as well. You know, we smoke this off and we're creating a lot of pressure. Like, oh yeah, we are coming in through here. This is an A hit. This is an A hit. Please believe us. Right, but actually, if we take a look at Sentinels, 100 Thieves, they actually don't move that much, right? Stella thinks about moving for a second. I think the only reason he actually moves is because Zekin is able to get a kill here, and they want to res the KO. Right? They want to res Asner, essentially. So then he starts to move. But the thing is, these guys now start making noise, right? Tenz does this little updraft to peek this first corner. And so these guys start making noise. So Derek now knows it's a fake, right? And so he stays. He's still around. Manages to get one kill. You know, he gets blinded there. He just holding down mouse 1. Eventually does get traded. Stella's able to get back in onto the site. And then we're also going to get this Omen ult as well. This is a crazy end to the game. So the Omen ult. But then we Killjoy ult for Sentinels. And so now these two are in a terrible position, right? They thought, oh, we're in a great spot here. We just Omen ult to backside. We can hold this down. But now it's a terrible position, right? And they start panicking, like, how do we deal with this? And they decide, well, we've got to try and destroy it. So Asner tries to come out and, you know, basically help them destroy it. But he gets picked off there from Sassy. And, you know, now it's just a mad dash. They actually do manage to destroy it. They actually do manage to get it. But we end up in a 3v2. There's only 13 seconds left on the clock. What we're going to see here in just a second is our Jet is going to end up running out. Stella actually manages to get a kill here on site. Cryo here runs out, but he's going to die from behind, and then Zekin is going to right-click kill Stella to get it to overtime. Absolutely insane, but a really cool round. And then finally, let's finish with the very last round here. We're going to get an early trade of util in B main here, where we get the KO knife, but we also get a Viper Molly on the floor just there. The Sova gets suppressed, and it's the same thing, right? Cryo's in mid here with an up. He's about to get droned. This happened, you know, kind of consistently for a lot of kind of the end rounds here. You know, it's exactly the same thing. He gets pinged, he has to run back. Actually, Cryo's going to come back and take B main here, which I kind of like this from 100 Thieves as a decision. They dart in towards B main and they try and get Cryo set up here because, again, the problem is, you know, they are lacking some of the map control. So they come and destroy the turret, and now these two decide, okay, we can start to move across. right? A smoke comes in mid from them to try and, delay over here. But as we can see, Sentinels are just coming for an A hit, and then they start to come. Now, these two start to, get across, but they are just, a little too slow, and Sentinels, decided to change the pace a bit here by going for this hit at this point. And so in they start to come, right? In dashes Tenz, they start to come in onto the site, and Tenz is about, this fight determines a lot of this round. This first fight, Tenz versus Bang, as far as I could tell, it's just a straight up 1v1. I think both are actually suppressed, so it's just a gunfight, and Tenz manages to win it, and then, that it kind of is like a house of cards where it all comes falling down. Asna dies from a spam there from Def. Tenz gets another one, and now we're in a lot of trouble. And now, Sentinels, have started to add lurks into this as well, where Pancada's in a really good spot just here. Obviously, you can hear Cryo running across. He gets that kill, and obviously a 4v1. This was pretty much the end of the game, and there it was. Pancada finishes it, and Sentinels would go on to win their first game in the Americas League. A crazy game, a really interesting game, super, super close. Could have gone either way very, very easily, but it was Sentinels who managed to win it.